It's a puzzle, right? You see incredibly useful skills all around you, skills that make things work, that help people, and we're all taught that if you're good at something useful, you'll be rewarded for it. But when you look at the market, well, it tells a completely different story. Today, we're going to take that puzzle apart, piece by piece. So let's just get right to the heart of it. This is the central question. We all know people who are brilliant, highly skilled, maybe even the backbone of their company, but their pay just doesn't seem to match their value. So what's really going on? What's the invisible force causing this massive disconnect?
Okay, before we go any further, I need to be super clear about something. What we're talking about today, it's not a list of tips, it's not career advice or some kind of productivity hack. We're here to observe the system itself, the cold, hard physics of how a skill actually gets valued in the marketplace.
So what's the first major signal we can pull from all the noise? It's this. Markets don't really reward usefulness on its own. They reward leverage. A skill's actual financial return isn't about how helpful it is in one moment, but how far and wide its impact can be amplified. This slide really nails the distinction. On one side, you've got contribution. This is good, valuable work, it's essential, but it's local. It's tied to one team or one project. And that kind of work, it earns you a salary. But on the other side, you've got amplification. This is where a skill's output ripples across the whole system. That's what earns a premium. And here's the thing. This isn't some niche idea that only applies to tech or finance. Once you see this pattern, leverage over simple usefulness, you start seeing the exact same force at work absolutely everywhere. It doesn't matter what your job title is or what industry you're in. I mean, just look at this. Think about freelance websites, where you have thousands of talented people basically forced to compete on price, or the huge gap between what a consultant gets paid to fix a local problem versus a strategic one. You see it in the creator economy, and for sure in the difference between selling a product to one person versus selling it to a business who can leverage it across their entire company. It's the same pattern again and again. All right, so if leverage is the signal we're looking for, what's the engine driving it? What are the actual physics at play that decide what a skill is worth? Turns out there are a few core mechanics we really need to get. The first force is something you could call the gravity of a crowded market. You see, when a ton of people can do a similar, useful thing, the supply is just incredibly high. And that high supply doesn't just push prices down, it crushes differentiation. It pulls everyone's value down toward the average, making it almost impossible to get paid more for being just a little bit better. And this brings us right back to leverage. To put a fine point on it, it's the power for the output of your work to impact multiple teams, multiple systems, or multiple revenue streams all at once. It's the difference between, say, fixing one broken machine and designing a new process so that none of the machines ever break in the first place. The next piece of the puzzle is scarcity. But, and this is really important, we're not talking about being the 1 in a billion best person at something. True market scarcity is usually engineered. It's created by finding that one unique context where your specific skill set becomes incredibly valuable and almost impossible to replace. And you create that scarcity through positioning. Positioning is the active, deliberate choice to point your skills directly at a company's biggest, most high-stakes problems, the things that are tied directly to making money, saving money, or strategic survival. That's how competence gets turned into scarcity the market actually recognizes. Look, getting a handle on these mechanics is so important because not seeing them, well, it has a very real cost. Misreading these signals is exactly why so many talented, hardworking people hit a wall in their careers and just get stuck. And this hits home for so many of us. You've got the skilled expert who's always underpaid, the person who works harder than anyone but is still seen as replaceable, the generalist with years of experience whose skills just never seem to add up to real leverage. These are the direct results of mixing up effort and usefulness with what the market is actually willing to pay a premium for. And that really brings us to the core thesis of this whole analysis. Career plateaus, career stagnation, it's almost never about how smart you are or how hard you work. It's about a failure to read the market signals. It's about your capability being mispriced because it's being misapplied. So, what about the people who command that high value? How do they operate? Well, they don't just work harder. They actually see the market in a totally different way. It's a mental edge that comes from a deep shift in perspective. The way most of us are taught to think, the conventional view, is to just focus on skill depth. get better, get deeper, practice your craft. But the high leverage view, it's obsessed with skill context and application. It's not about being the best in a vacuum. It's about being the best possible option for a very specific, very high-value problem. And when you adopt that mindset, it changes everything. You stop just trying to deepen one skill and you start stacking skills to create a combination that's rare. You actively look for ways to engineer leverage into your work. You make sure your capabilities can move across different markets. And critically, you focus on positioning your value way, way before you even think about negotiating. Okay, we've looked at the signal, the pattern, the mechanism, and the mindset. So to finish this explainer, we're not going to leave you with answers. We're going to leave you with the right questions, the questions you should be asking yourself. First one, and you have to be brutally honest with yourself here. Forget your ego for a second. Who else out there can actually deliver the core result of your work? Is it a tiny handful of specialists, or is it a giant ocean of pretty competent people? In building right on that, what's the supply and demand really look like in your specific field? Are you playing in a space where talent is everywhere, pushing everyone's price down? Or is there a genuine shortage of people who can do what you do in the context that you do it? And finally, this is the big one. This is the most important question. It's not just about being different. What is it about you, your unique mix of skills, your context, your positioning, that solves a problem so painful or so valuable that the market has no choice but to pay a real premium for it? That, right there, is the essence of skill market physics.